Success doesn't belong to the person who runs the fastest. It belongs to the one who can remain steady when the world is shaking. Think about it for a second. How many times in your life have you made a poor choice? Not because you didn't know better, but because you were rushed, angry, anxious, or overwhelmed. How many problems became worse simply because you reacted too quickly? That's the real issue. The downfall is not ignorance, it's losing control when pressure rises. In the real world, the winners are not the loudest, the fastest, or the most aggressive. The winners are those who stay calm. Calm people think more clearly. Calm people communicate more wisely. Calm people choose with precision while others waste energy proving a point, chasing validation, or falling apart under stress. The steady mind always wins over the chaotic one. This audiobook isn't just about staying calm. It's about learning to use calm as a weapon, as a tool, as a strategy to grow, to lead, to succeed, and to win in life. If you've been feeling stuck, easily triggered, or overwhelmed, what you're missing isn't motivation. It's control. And control starts inside your head. Chapter 1 begins here. Slow down your thoughts and take control today. One of the most important lessons I ever learned, the one that shifted how I approach both life and business, was this: your mind cannot lead if it is always in a rush. When your thoughts race too fast, wisdom disappears. When your emotions are all over the place, clarity vanishes. And when stress dominates your choices, you can't build the future you want. Most people are not failing because they lack intelligence. They're not failing because they lack talent. They're failing because they don't know how to slow down. Their brain runs in circles like a machine stuck on high speed. One thought after another. One fear after another. One problem after another. And because they never pause, they never truly see. They live in a permanent state of reaction. And reaction is not leadership. Reaction is not growth. Reaction is not success. True success begins when you learn how to slow down your thoughts. It begins when you calm yourself before responding. It begins when you train your mind to remain centered in the middle of chaos. Here's the truth. The world will not calm down for you. Life will not become easier just because you ask it to. People will still frustrate you. Circumstances will still test your nerves. Challenges will keep coming. You cannot wait for the storm to pass before you choose calm. You have to choose calm in the middle of the storm. Why? Because calm is power. Imagine this. Someone speaks to you rudely, unfairly, or disrespectfully. What do most people do? They snap. They raise their voice. They say something they regret. They let their emotions take over. Why? Because their thoughts move too fast. They never pause to ask, is this worth my energy? Is this the smartest response? That mental rush is what destroys relationships. That rush is what ruins opportunities. That rush is what blocks success. But what if you didn't rush? What if you slowed the moment down? What if you paused, took a breath, let the emotion pass, and then responded not from impulse but from wisdom? That small choice is the difference between living on emotional autopilot and living in control. That pause is the beginning of a new life. Control is the foundation of personal power. And control begins with calm. Let's be clear. Calm is not something you're born with. It's not a personality trait. It's not luck. Calm is a decision. It's a skill. It's a discipline you train just like you train your body at the gym. One choice at a time. One situation at a time. It starts with awareness. You catch yourself spinning in anxious thoughts, stressing about things that haven't even happened, or overreacting to something small. And in that exact moment, you say to yourself, enough. I will not let this storm in my head decide who I become. I will slow down. I will choose calm. You strip away the panic. You look at the facts. You choose wisdom over speed. That's when everything changes. Because here's the secret. The calm person always leads. In business, in relationships, in life, the calm person is the one people trust. The calm person is the one people follow. Not because they're perfect, but because they remain clear when others drown in chaos. And that's rare. Most people are so used to panic, so used to noise, that they have forgotten what true calm feels like. But it can be relearned, can be rebuilt. Here's where it gets interesting. Once you start slowing your thoughts down, you unlock an entirely new way of living. You stop overthinking every word someone said. You stop burning energy imagining worst-case scenarios that never happen. You stop letting your brain chase distractions all day. Instead, you find focus. Instead, you find clarity. Instead, you find power. You become more productive not by doing more, but by doing the right things. You stop multitasking yourself into burnout. You stop scattering your energy across 20 problems. You approach each task with presence, with intention, with focus. And that makes you effective. Calm people get more done. Not because they have more hours, but because they don't waste theirs fighting their own mind all day. Calm also transforms your relationships. Who do you trust more? The person who loses their temper every time something goes wrong? Or the one who stays grounded, who listens, who solves problems without drama? Who do you want to follow, the one who panics or the one who steadies the room? Calm earns trust. Calm earns respect. Calm makes people feel safe around you. And in leadership, in family, in business, trust and safety matter more than raw talent. Don't mistake calm for weakness. Calm people feel everything. They feel anger, stress, disappointment, but they don't let those emotions drive the car. They acknowledge the feeling, then decide the response. That is true emotional strength. And with that strength comes confidence. Because when you train your mind to pause and slow down, you stop second-guessing yourself. You stop drowning in what-ifs. You stop giving fear the driver's seat. Instead, you hear your own voice again. Not your fear. Not the noise of the world. Not the panic in your head. Your real voice. And when you hear it, you begin to trust it. You begin to trust yourself. You build self-respect. And that makes you someone who doesn't fall apart under stress. Someone who doesn't need perfect conditions to move forward. Someone who others can rely on when things get messy. It all begins with the habit of slowing down your thoughts. Here's a practical exercise. Every morning, before you check your phone, before you dive into the noise of the world, sit with yourself. Just 5 minutes. Close your eyes. Breathe. Notice your thoughts. Let them come. Don't fight them. And then quietly affirm to yourself, I am in control today. That one habit rewires your brain. That one decision shifts the entire tone of your day. And during the day when things go wrong, and they will, catch yourself. Notice the speed of your thoughts. Ask yourself, do I really need to rush this? Is this truly urgent? Can I pause for just 1 minute before responding? That one pause can change everything. That one pause might stop you from saying something that ruins a relationship. That one pause might help you see a better solution. That one pause might be the turning point of your day, or even your life. Because calm is not passive. Calm is power. Calm is clarity. Calm is presence. The calm mind doesn't crumble when pressure rises. The calm mind sees clearly while others get lost. The calm mind keeps moving forward while others spiral. And that's why success doesn't come to the one who moves the fastest. It comes to the one who stays calm when it matters most. It's easy to feel calm when life is smooth, when the schedule runs as planned, when people are kind, when money is flowing, when nothing unexpected shows up. That's not a real test. Anyone can feel steady when the environment is steady. The true test of your strength is what happens when things don't go as planned. Because let's face it, life rarely goes according to script. Things break. People disappoint you. Projects fail. Unexpected problems show up at the worst possible moment. And when that happens, most people lose their balance. They panic. They lash out. They spiral. They let the chaos outside of them become chaos inside of them. But here's the truth. Staying calm when things go wrong is one of the most powerful skills you can ever build. Calm in good times doesn't mean much. Calm in bad times changes everything. Most people make things worse when something goes wrong. Not because the situation itself is unfixable, but because they react poorly. They let their emotions run wild. They snap at people. They rush into choices without thinking. They get so consumed by frustration that they can't even see the solution right in front of them. Panic doesn't solve problems. Overreaction doesn't fix mistakes. Anger doesn't repair broken plans. The truth is, Reacting with panic is not handling the situation. It's simply spreading the fire. And when you spread the fire, you burn opportunities, trust, and peace. Calm doesn't mean ignoring the problem. Calm means not becoming the problem. When something breaks in your life, you don't have to break with it. When a plan falls apart, you don't have to fall apart too. That's the choice most people miss. Yes, frustration is normal. Anger is natural. Stress is human. But what you do after that first wave of emotion, that's what determines whether you rise or collapse. The people who succeed are not the ones who avoid problems. They're the ones who can face problems with clarity. They're the ones who can stand in the middle of the storm and say, okay, what matters most right now? What can I do that actually helps? And here's something you need to understand. Success doesn't start in the event. Success starts in the reaction. You can't control the world, but you can always control how you respond to it. Think about the last time you regretted a choice. Was it really the situation that ruined things, or was it your reaction to it? The harsh words you said that you couldn't take back. The quick decision you made in anger. The emotional spiral that drained your focus for days. Most regrets are not born from the problem itself. They're born from our failure to stay calm in the problem. That's why calm is such a rare and valuable strength. Anyone can raise their voice. Anyone can slam a door. Anyone can blame others when life doesn't cooperate. But it takes maturity, discipline, and real inner strength to remain steady, to breathe, to pause, to think clearly before acting. And the truth is, calm isn't built in the middle of the crisis. Calm is trained in the small moments. You build it the same way you build muscle, through repetition. You train it when traffic is slow. You train it when the line is too long. You train it when someone interrupts you. You train it when small things don't go your way. Because if you can't handle the small irritations calmly, how will you handle the big storms? It's in those little moments that you practice. You stop yourself from snapping at the cashier. You pause before sending that angry text. You choose silence instead of adding noise. These small acts of restraint are not weakness. They're training. They're building the version of you that can stay composed when life throws bigger challenges your way. Here's the difference between those who win and those who get stuck. The ones who lose themselves in reaction burn energy, lose focus, and waste time. The ones who stay calm conserve energy, stay sharp, and move forward. One is caught in the moment. The other is guided by clarity. Ask yourself this: do you want to be fast and lost or slow and in control? Most people think panic means progress because it feels like action. But panic-driven action usually takes you in circles. Calm-driven action takes you in the right direction. Let me give you a simple truth. Success is not about speed, it's about accuracy. And accuracy only comes from a calm mind. When things go wrong, your job is not to match the chaos. Your job is to create order inside yourself. That order is what allows you to see the situation clearly, to separate emotion from fact, to choose the smartest path instead of the loudest one. Calm people are not immune to stress. They feel it like everyone else. But instead of letting stress control them, they control their response to it. And that's why they rise. Because while everyone else is drowning in noise, the calm person is listening. While everyone else is chasing distractions, the calm person is focused. While everyone else is losing energy to panic, the calm person is directing energy towards solutions. It's not that calm people have fewer problems. It's that they don't make problems worse with bad reactions. And that alone is enough to separate them from the crowd. Let's talk about practical steps. The next time something goes wrong, pause before speaking. Don't let the first emotional wave dictate your words. Breathe deeply. Even 10 seconds of deep breathing can reset your nervous system. Ask yourself one question. What matters most right now? This pulls your mind out of panic and back into focus. Choose clarity over speed. Remind yourself, speed doesn't matter if the direction is wrong. Act with intention. Do one thing that helps, not 10 things that create more chaos. If you practice these steps, you'll start noticing something powerful. Problems no longer own you. Yes, they're still there. Yes, they still hurt. But they no longer control the way you live, think, or respond. And that shift is everything. Calm is not silence. Calm is not weakness. Calm is wisdom in action. Calm is leadership in disguise. Calm is the quiet power that allows you to move forward when everyone else is stuck. So the next time life breaks something, remember you don't have to break with it. You don't have to lose yourself just because plans failed. You don't have to let frustration decide your future. You can stay steady. You can think clearly. You can choose wisely. And in that choice, you separate yourself from the masses. Because success doesn't come to those who react the fastest. It comes to those who stay calm when things go wrong. The biggest mistakes people make don't usually come from the situation itself. They come from how they respond. It's not the problem that ruins most lives. It's the reaction. Not the conflict, but the way someone handled it. Not the disappointment, but the words that followed. If you look closely at your past regrets, you'll notice a pattern. They almost always came from acting too fast. You didn't pause. You didn't think. You let the emotion run ahead of your wisdom. When someone triggered you, your instinct was to defend yourself. When something went wrong, your instinct was to get frustrated. That's natural. But living on instinct alone is not how you grow. It's how you repeat mistakes. There's a reason people say things they don't mean. There's a reason people make choices they later wish they could reverse. And the reason is always the same. They didn't pause. They didn't give themselves enough space between feeling and reacting. If you want to change your life, start here. Train your mind to pause before you respond. The pause is not automatic. The pause is a discipline. It's a muscle you build through practice. You won't wake up one day suddenly calm. You won't magically resist every trigger. But with repetition, you can learn to delay your reaction long enough for wisdom to step in. And once you master the pause, you become a different kind of person. More thoughtful, more respected, more trusted. Here's the truth. Your first impulse is rarely your best one. The first thought you have is often emotional, not logical. The first thing you want to say is usually defensive, not constructive. The first action you want to take is almost always fueled by pride or fear, not clarity. But when you pause, even for a few seconds, you allow your better judgment to take over. You create space for reflection. And in that space, you find maturity. That pause doesn't just protect your words. It protects your future. Because here's the reality. Every decision you make, every word you say, every response you give is building or breaking something in your life. It's either adding to your peace or stealing it. It's either protecting your relationships or damaging them. It's either moving you forward or pulling you backward. The pause is where you protect what matters. When you pause, you ask better questions. Is this worth my energy? What outcome do I want from this moment? If I respond this way, what will it lead to? Most people never ask these questions. They act on impulse. They speak from pride. They decide from fear. And then they spend months or years fixing the damage caused by those 2 seconds of reaction. But wise people, they pause. They think. They respond with intention, not instinct. And here's the secret. The pause doesn't make you weaker. It makes you stronger. When you pause, you don't give your power away. You don't let someone else's words dictate your behavior. You don't let the mood of the moment own you. Instead, you reclaim authority over yourself. That's where real confidence comes from, not in controlling the world, but in controlling yourself. The pause also gives you perspective. Emotions shrink your vision. They make everything feel urgent, personal, and overwhelming. But when you pause, you realize most things aren't as serious as they first felt. You realize maybe the rude comment wasn't about you at all. Maybe the delay isn't the end of the world. Maybe the setback is just a redirection. Without the pause, you miss those insights. You get stuck on the surface. You fight battles that weren't worth fighting. You waste energy defending yourself when there was nothing to defend. But with the pause, you see deeper. You act smarter. You rise above the noise. Think about how much peace you could gain in your life if you simply paused before responding. Think about how many arguments would vanish. Think about how many regrets would disappear. Think about how much time and energy you would save by not reacting to every single trigger. This is why the calmest people in the room often have the most influence. Not because they always have the answer, but because they don't waste energy on noise. They don't react to everything. They choose when and how to respond. And when they do, people listen. That's the power of restraint. That's the power of patience. That's the power of a pause. You might be thinking, but what if people see my silence as weakness? Let me tell you something, silence is only weakness if you're afraid. But if your silence is chosen, if your pause is intentional, it becomes strength. It shows discipline. It shows control. It shows you don't need to prove yourself in every moment. The pause isn't about holding back forever. It's about creating space to choose wisely. It's about speaking with purpose, not panic. It's about acting with clarity, not chaos. And the truth is, people will respect you more for it. Because reliability is rare. People notice when you don't overreact. They notice when you respond thoughtfully. They notice when you're the person who brings calm instead of adding fire. And more. You'll understand people instead of just reacting to them. Because when you pause, you actually hear. You don't just hear the words, they're saying you notice the feelings behind the words. You see the bigger picture. And that makes your response stronger, not weaker. Let's talk about practice. The next time someone cuts you off in traffic, pause. Don't yell. Don't carry the frustration. Let it go. The next time someone disrespects you, pause. Don't fire back with equal disrespect. Breathe. Decide if responding helps or just adds more noise. The next time you get unexpected bad news, pause. Don't spiral into negativity. Let the first wave of emotion pass. Then respond from clarity. That's how you build the muscle. One pause at a time. And don't get discouraged if you fail at first. You will. You'll react too quickly sometimes. You'll catch yourself after the fact. That's okay. Growth doesn't mean you never fail. Growth means you catch yourself faster, you adjust sooner, you choose better next time. Over time, you shorten the gap between stimulus and response. That gap is where strength lives. That gap is where peace is protected. That gap is where the leader inside you is built. So train your mind daily. When urgency rises, pause. When anger flares, pause. When fear shouts, pause. Not to avoid the moment, but to own it. Because in the end, life is not determined by what happens to you. It's determined by how you respond. And the pause is what separates those who react blindly from those who lead intentionally. The pause is where chaos stops and clarity begins. The pause is where you stop giving your power away. The pause is where you decide the kind of person you want to become. So train your mind to pause before you respond. Not just for others, not just for appearances, but for your peace, for your clarity, for your future, because the life you want is not built on random reactions. It's built on intentional responses. And intentional responses begin with a pause. Pressure. Everyone faces it. At work, in family, in business, in life. It shows up when you're expected to deliver, when the deadline is tight, when the outcome really matters, when people are watching, and when failure feels unacceptable. Pressure is one of life's unavoidable tests. But here's the problem. Most people collapse under pressure not because they can't handle the task, but because they let the pressure change who they are. They abandon their standards. They forget their values. They trade self-respect for survival in the moment. And once you give away your self-respect under pressure, it's very hard to trust yourself again. True success is not just about what you achieve. It's about who you remain while you're achieving it. Because if you make millions but lose your character in the process, is that really success? If you impress people in public but disappoint yourself in private, is that really winning? If you hit the goal but sacrifice your integrity, did you actually rise? Or did you sell yourself short? You don't earn real strength by being perfect when life is calm. You earn it by staying grounded when the heat rises. And that's what handling pressure without losing your self-respect is all about. Let's be clear, pressure is not the enemy. Pressure reveals who you are. Pressure brings out your habits. Pressure shows what's really inside of you. And if you don't like what pressure reveals, that's not a failure, it's feedback. It's a chance to grow. But growth begins with a decision. No result is worth losing my character. There will be moments when pressure pushes you to act out of anger. to snap at someone, to lie to save face, to compromise your values to get ahead, to cut corners just to get it done. And in those moments, you'll feel the temptation to let go of who you are just to make the moment easier. But every time you give in, you trade something priceless. You trade your self-respect. And without self-respect, no achievement will ever feel fulfilling. Here's what most people forget. You don't have to raise your voice to prove a point. You don't have to cheat to get ahead. You don't have to fake who you are to be accepted. Pressure may make it feel like you need to do those things, but that's a lie. Real strength shows up when you can face pressure and still choose dignity. The people who handle pressure with character are the ones who become leaders. Not because they're perfect, but because they are consistent with what they believe even when it's hard. People trust them not because they always win, but because they never lose themselves while trying. Handling pressure doesn't mean pretending you're not stressed. It doesn't mean bottling everything inside. It means you feel the weight of the moment, but you respond in a way you'll respect tomorrow. Anyone can explode when they're overwhelmed. Anyone can give up when it feels heavy. But discipline is choosing self-control when it's the hardest to keep. Pressure is like a magnifying glass. It reveals your default settings. If your habit is to rush decisions, blame others, or lower your standards when stress shows up, then pressure will expose that. But you can reprogram those settings. You can build new habits. You can train yourself to breathe when you want to yell, to pause when you want to panic, to stay respectful when it feels easier to lash out. And every time you do, you strengthen your identity as someone who can handle stress without breaking. Here's something important. Self-respect is not a feeling you wait for. It's a standard you set for yourself. It's the line you refuse to cross, no matter how much pressure rises. Maybe your standard is, I don't lie even under stress. Maybe your standard is, I don't raise my voice even when I'm angry. Maybe your standard is, I don't betray my values for temporary relief. Whatever your standards are, you decide them before the crisis comes. Because if you wait until you're under pressure to figure out who you are, you'll default to panic. When pressure comes, you don't rise to the occasion, you fall to your training. And that training is your values, your standards, your self-discipline. That's why you must define your non-negotiables ahead of time. Decide now who you will be when the pressure comes. Because it will come. And when it does, here's the key. Slow the moment down. Pressure always tries to speed you up. It screams, decide now, react now, do something now. But rushing rarely helps. More often, it hurts. Slow down. Step away if you need to. Take a walk. Drink water. Breathe deeply. Remind yourself, I don't have to lose myself just because I'm under pressure. That one pause can save a relationship. That one pause can save a reputation. That one pause can save your integrity. Pressure is not your enemy, but panic is. Pressure is not what breaks you. Your reaction to it is. If you've ever looked back on a moment and said, I can't believe I acted that way, that's pressure revealing your untrained habits. That's pressure showing you where you need to grow. And that's okay. Growth isn't about being perfect under pressure. Growth is about catching yourself faster, correcting your course sooner, and choosing better the next time. Handling pressure also requires honesty with yourself. You don't need to pretend you're unaffected. You don't need to act invincible. But you do need to take responsibility for how you behave, no matter how stressed you feel. That's maturity. Knowing that life doesn't give you a pass just because you're overwhelmed. You are still accountable for your actions. And the way you act under pressure is often what people remember most about you. So don't let the moment steal your long-term respect. Let me give it to you straight. Giving into pressure might give you short-term relief, but it will cost you long-term peace. You'll regret the words you said, the corners you cut, the values you abandoned. But when you hold your ground, when you remain true to yourself even when it's hard, you walk away with something priceless. Self-respect. And self-respect is the foundation of unshakable confidence. Because once you know you can trust yourself under pressure, you stop fearing pressure. You stop running from hard moments. You stop doubting whether you can handle the weight. You don't need everything to be easy anymore because you've proven you can stay solid when it's heavy. That's real success. Not just what you achieved, but who you became while achieving it. So the next time pressure shows up, and it will, remember, you don't need to rush. Slow it down. You don't need to lower your standards. Hold the line. You don't need to lose yourself to win. Winning without self-respect is not winning. True strength is staying calm, staying clear, and staying true when the pressure rises. And when you live that way, you build more than success, you build legacy. Because success without self-respect fades, but success built with integrity lasts forever. Most people can't stand silence. The moment tension enters the room, they rush to fill it with words. When someone challenges them, they defend themselves immediately. When they feel misunderstood, they explain and explain, hoping that more talking will solve it. When pressure rises, their instinct is to argue, to prove, to convince. But here's the truth. In difficult moments, words are rarely your best weapon. The most powerful tool you have is not your voice. It's your awareness. And awareness can only be built through observation. Speaking less is not weakness. Speaking less is wisdom. Why? Because when you speak too quickly, you usually speak from emotion, not from clarity. You react instead of responding. You defend instead of understanding. You explain before you even grasp the full situation. And in doing so, you often dig yourself deeper. The strongest people don't always rush to be heard. They know that silence, when used wisely, carries more power than noise. Think about this. When conflict shows up, most people are so busy reacting to their own emotions that they stop seeing what's actually happening. They're not paying attention to tone, to body language, to timing. They're not noticing the small signals that reveal the truth beneath the surface. They're blinded by their own need to speak. But the person who stays quiet, the one who listens, observes, and studies the moment, that person gains insight everyone else misses. And insight is power. Observation allows you to read the room when everyone else is distracted by their own voice. It helps you understand not just what's being said, but what's being meant. It reveals the emotions underneath the words, the real intentions behind the noise. While others are busy trying to win the moment with arguments, you're winning the bigger game by collecting information, by understanding dynamics, by seeing what others overlook. And when you finally do speak, your words carry weight, because they come from clarity, not impulse. This is why the calmest person in the room usually holds the most influence. They don't fight for attention. They don't compete to be the loudest. Their presence alone shifts the energy because everyone else is frantic, while they are steady. Silence is not emptiness. It's presence. But here's the catch. Silence only becomes powerful when it's intentional. Staying quiet out of fear is weakness. Staying quiet out of discipline is strength. When you choose to observe instead of react, you send a powerful message to yourself and to others. I am not controlled by the moment. I am in control of myself. And that's a kind of authority you can't fake. Now, this doesn't mean you should never speak. It means you should resist the urge to speak before you understand. It means you should learn the difference between talking to be heard and talking to create impact. It means you should value timing over speed. Because one sentence spoken with clarity will always be more effective than 50 spoken in panic. This discipline will change the way people see you. You'll become the person others trust. Not because you say a lot, but because when you do speak, they know it matters. They know it comes from thought, not impulse. And it will also change the way you see yourself. The more you observe, the more you notice. You'll notice when someone is projecting their pain onto you. You'll notice when someone's anger isn't really about the issue at hand. You'll notice when a situation is more about emotion than logic. And those insights give you options. You stop falling into traps. You stop reacting blindly. You start responding intelligently. You also protect your energy. Because let's be honest, most arguments don't need to happen. Most debates don't need your participation. Most disrespect doesn't deserve your reaction. By speaking less, you save yourself from wasting energy on nonsense. And the energy you save can now be used where it actually matters, on your goals, your growth, your peace. Here's a practice you can start today. When someone says something that bothers you, don't respond right away. Sit with it. Watch your own reaction. Ask yourself, do I need to respond at all? And if I do, what outcome am I aiming for? When you're in a group and everyone is trying to prove themselves, resist the urge to compete. Listen. Watch how people reveal themselves through their words. Notice who's calm and who's reactive. When you disagree with someone, don't jump in immediately. Hold your perspective. Wait for the right moment. Often, the best response is not the fastest. It's the one delivered with patience and precision. At first, this will feel uncomfortable. You'll feel pressure to fill the silence. You'll feel the urge to prove yourself. But the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. And soon, you'll notice something. Your presence alone will start to carry more weight than your words ever did before. Because people feel calm. They feel steadiness. They feel control. And those qualities make them listen before you even open your mouth. This discipline of speaking less and observing more will serve you in every area of life. In business, it makes you the person who sees opportunities others miss. In relationships, it makes you the person who listens, understands, and connects deeply instead of constantly arguing. In personal growth, it makes you more self-aware, more centered, more aligned. But above all, it gives you peace. Because when you stop reacting to everything, you stop carrying unnecessary battles. You stop wasting words on people who won't hear them. You stop trying to prove yourself in every moment. Instead, you conserve your energy. You use your words with care. You choose your responses with intention. And that choice protects your peace, your time, your relationships, and your future. So remember this. You don't need to say everything you think. You don't need to prove yourself every time someone misunderstands you. You don't need to fight every battle that shows up. Sometimes the smartest move is silence. Sometimes the most powerful statement is restraint. Sometimes the greatest influence comes not from speaking, but from observing. Speak less, observe more, and in doing so you'll rise above the noise, not with volume, but with wisdom. The world we live in is built for distraction. It doesn't just surround you, it hunts you. Notifications, messages, invitations, opinions, arguments, gossip, endless noise. And sometimes the biggest distractions don't come from your phone or your environment. They come from people. People who don't share your vision. People who don't understand your discipline. People who feel uncomfortable with your growth. And if you're not careful, they'll pull you off your path without even meaning to. Here's a truth most people never realize. Your focus threatens people who don't have any. When you're consistent, disciplined, and serious about your goals, it reminds others of what they're not doing. And instead of being inspired, many will try, consciously or unconsciously, to distract you. Some will do it through drama. Some through negativity. Some through laziness. Some through constant demands for your time. Not because they hate you, but because your focus highlights their lack of it. And if you're not careful, you'll start adjusting your rhythm to match theirs. You'll slow down. You'll get pulled into conversations that drain you. You'll attend conflicts that don't deserve your attention. You'll start carrying weight that was never yours to carry. One small distraction at a time. One compromise at a time. Until you wake up one day and realize you're off track. This is why you need to understand something deeply. Focus is not a luxury. Focus is survival. Every time you let someone steal your focus, you give away a piece of your future. Every time you get pulled into gossip, arguments, or distractions, you waste time you will never get back. You can't afford that. Not if you're serious about becoming the person you're meant to be. And here's the truth. Most people won't understand your focus. They'll call you distant. They'll say you've changed. They'll tell you you're too serious. But they don't understand you're not being distant. You're being deliberate. You're not too serious. You're simply tired of being average. You're not avoiding people. You're protecting your peace. There's a huge difference. Because if you break your own rhythm every time someone else wants your attention, you'll never build anything consistent. And consistency is the foundation of every great achievement. That's why the most successful people aren't always the most talented. But they are the most consistent. They guard their focus like it's treasure because it is. You need to start doing the same. Here's the reality. Distractions don't always come from enemies. They often come from the people closest to you. Friends who want you to waste time with them. Family who doesn't understand why you're changing. People who expect you to play the same role you always did. And when you stop playing that role, they'll resist. They'll say you've changed. And they're right, you have. Growth is change. Evolution is change. Becoming more requires leaving parts of the old you behind. And not everyone will like that. But you're not here to make everyone comfortable. You're here to grow. This doesn't mean you cut everyone off. It means you set boundaries. It means you become selective about who and what gets your attention. It means you recognize that not every voice deserves your ears. Not every conversation deserves your energy. Not every invitation deserves your presence. Focus is sacred. Treat it that way. Let me give you something practical. Identify your distractions. Is it certain people? Certain habits? Certain environments? Be honest. You can't manage what you won't name. Protect your time. Schedule it like it matters because it does. Block time for your goals and treat it as non-negotiable. Say no without guilt. You don't owe everyone your availability. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't have to explain every no. Stay emotionally disciplined. One of the biggest distractions is offense. Someone says something, and instead of staying focused, you waste your day defending yourself in your head. Don't. Protect your peace more than your pride. Because the truth is, most distractions aren't strong enough to stop you. What stops you is giving them permission. Every distraction that derails you does so because fighting on you to get serious now. You have to accept something. You will be misunderstood. People will think you're too focused. They'll think you're too disciplined. They'll label you as distant. But understand, those same people will one day look at your results and call you lucky. They won't see the years of focus. They won't see the nights you stayed disciplined while they wasted time. They won't see the boundaries you set, the distractions you ignored, the consistency you built. And that's okay. You're not building for applause. You're building for yourself. Focus isn't about being rude. Focus is about being real with yourself. It's about deciding that your time matters too much to be wasted. Your growth matters too much to be delayed. Your peace matters too much to be stolen. So don't give it away cheaply. Remember this: distractions only win when you feed them. People can only waste your time if you allow it. Drama can only drain you if you engage with it. Chaos can only pull you in if you choose to join. Take your power back. Protect your focus like your future depends on it, because it does. Because at the end of the day, success doesn't come from doing everything. It comes from doing the right things without being pulled off track. Stay focused when others are scattered. Stay disciplined when others are distracted. Stay committed when others are drifting. And one day, the life you built will be the proof that focus was worth it. Peace is not something you stumble into. Peace is not a gift that shows up when life finally calms down. Peace is not the absence of problems. Peace is the result of discipline. Peace is the result of structure. Peace is the result of habits. Most people treat peace like weather. They think it just comes and goes depending on circumstances. But the truth is, peace is more like a house. And like any house, it's built brick by brick. Every brick is a habit. Every habit is a choice. And those choices either protect your peace or destroy it. If you want to live with inner calm, you can't just wish for it, you have to build it. Think about this. When your life feels chaotic, it's usually not because the world suddenly got harder. It's because your habits stopped supporting you. You stayed up too late. You skipped your routines. You neglected reflection. You let everyone else's noise fill your mind. And without realizing it, you invited chaos in through the small cracks in your daily life. That's why strong habits matter so much. They are the anchors that hold you steady when everything else feels unsteady. People often believe peace means freedom from rules, no expectations, no structure. But real peace doesn't come from drifting. It comes from rhythm. It comes from consistency. It comes from knowing that your life is not at the mercy of randomness, because you have built routines that protect your energy and guide your focus. That's why discipline is not the enemy of peace. It's the foundation of peace. When you keep promises to yourself, you stop carrying guilt. When you maintain order in your environment, your mind feels lighter. When you follow routines that serve you, you don't waste energy deciding every little thing. You free your mind for bigger thoughts. Let's break this down. How you start the day sets the tone for everything after. If you wake up and immediately drown in messages, notifications, and noise, you've already surrendered your peace to the outside world. But if you wake up and spend even 5 minutes grounding yourself, through breathing, journaling, stretching, or silence, you send a signal to your brain. We start from calm, not from chaos. That small shift creates ripples through your entire day. Most people scroll their phone until they pass out, feeding their brain with noise right before sleep. Then they wonder why they wake up feeling heavy. But if you end your day with reflection, stillness, or quiet reading, you clean your mental slate. You tell your nervous system, we end from calm, not from clutter. And that changes how you rest, recover, and wake up. Peace cannot survive in constant clutter, noise, or negativity. Look around your space. Is it clean? Is it organized? Or is it full of things that drain you without you realizing? Habits like tidying your environment, limiting toxic inputs, and choosing what you expose yourself to, those are not small. They are direct protectors of your mental state. You cannot expect peace if you constantly neglect your health. Sleep, movement, hydration, sunlight, these are not luxuries. They are habits that literally rewire your mind for stability. A tired, undernourished body produces an unstable mind. But a cared-for body supports a calm mind. Most people are too busy reacting to life to ever pause and notice what's actually happening inside them. That's why they keep repeating the same stresses without knowing why. A habit as small as 5 minutes of reflection a day can change that. Ask yourself, what disturbed my peace today? What helped me stay calm? What can I do better tomorrow? Those questions bring awareness, and awareness gives you power. When you add up all of these small habits, you realize something huge. Peace is not passive. Peace is active. Peace is something you create through daily disciplines. And here's the beauty of it. The stronger your habits, the less other people's chaos can touch you. When you have anchors, you're not easily shaken. A rude comment doesn't ruin your mood. A small setback doesn't throw off your whole day. Someone else's drama doesn't pull you into their storm. Because your life is not built on randomness. It's built on rhythm. This is why building strong habits is not just about productivity. It's about identity. It's about becoming someone who cannot be easily thrown off balance. Someone who doesn't wait for life to calm down before feeling calm. Someone who brings the calm into every situation. Imagine being the person people rely on. Not because you're always happy, not because nothing ever bothers you, but because your steadiness doesn't break when things get messy. That kind of presence earns respect. That kind of presence creates influence. That kind of presence only comes from disciplined habits. And don't misunderstand this. Building strong habits is not about being perfect. Life will still interrupt you. Stress will still show up. You'll still have days when you feel tired or unmotivated. But your habits are the safety net that catches you. They pull you back when your emotions want to drift. They remind you of who you are when you forget. That's why you don't wait for peace to find you. You build it every day. Start small. Drink more water. Move your body. Spend 5 minutes in silence. Clean your space. Reflect on your day. These small actions may not seem life-changing at first, but stacked together, they become the system that protects your inner peace. Because here's the truth. The world will always try to steal your calm. People will always test your patience. Life will always throw challenges. But if you've built strong habits, none of that can break you. Your peace is not fragile. It is fortified. And that's the difference between people who crumble under stress and people who rise above it. The first group waits for peace to arrive. The second group builds it, protects it, and lives from it no matter what's happening around them. So ask yourself, what habits are building your peace and what habits are breaking it? Be honest, because the answer to that question is the answer to your future. Peace isn't luck. Peace isn't random. Peace is a lifestyle. And that lifestyle is built one habit at a time. Anger feels powerful. It rushes in like fire, hot, fast, demanding. It takes over your body. Your chest tightens. Your heart races. Your voice rises. And in that heat, it feels like you have to act. Like if you don't release it, you'll explode. That's why anger is so dangerous, because it makes speed feel like strength. Tricks you into thinking urgency equals power. But the truth is, most of the actions anger pushes you toward are the very ones you'll regret later. Harsh words you can't take back. Impulsive decisions that cost you opportunities. Broken trust. Damaged relationships. All because you reacted too quickly. Here's the reality. Anger is not the problem. Uncontrolled reaction is. You can feel anger without becoming anger. You can notice frustration without letting it decide your next move. You can acknowledge the heat and still choose patience. Because patience is not weakness. Patience is control. Patience is the decision to let the wave pass before you act. Patience is saying, I value my peace more than my pride. Patience is taking a breath, taking a step back, and reminding yourself, not every feeling deserves a reaction. Think about it. How many times have you regretted what you said when you were angry? How many times would the situation have been better if you had waited just a little longer? That's the power of patience. It gives wisdom enough time to speak. The truth is, people will test you. They'll say the wrong thing. They'll disrespect you. They'll misunderstand you. They'll push your buttons, sometimes intentionally, sometimes not. But here's the key. If everyone can control you by provoking you, then you're not in control at all. And if you're not in control, your growth will always be limited by other people's behavior. That's not the life you want. You want to be the kind of person who can face conflict without losing yourself in it. The kind of person who can feel anger and not become anger. The kind of person who can hold their standards even when tested. That requires patience. Here's a truth you need to tattoo in your mind. Most situations don't need a strong response. They need a smart one. And smart responses don't come from heat, they come from space. That space might be 10 seconds of silence. It might be walking away before answering. It might be taking a deep breath and asking yourself, what do I actually want from this moment? In that space, you move from reaction to reflection. You move from ego to clarity. You stop letting the other person's actions control you, and you start choosing your own. And here's what happens when you start practicing patience. You build trust with yourself. You start to see that you don't need to explode to feel powerful. You don't need to shout to prove a point. You don't need to win every small battle to win the bigger war. Patience protects your future. Because while anger defends your pride, patience defends your peace. And peace is far more valuable. Let's clear up a myth. Patience doesn't mean you accept disrespect. It doesn't mean you stay silent forever. It doesn't mean you avoid conflict. It means you wait long enough to respond with clarity instead of chaos. It means when you finally do speak, your words are deliberate, not destructive. Your tone is measured, not explosive. Your response is strategic, not sloppy. And that makes your words more powerful, not less. Some people think if they don't react right away, they'll look weak. But here's the truth. Nothing is stronger than restraint. Anyone can yell. Anyone can lash out. Anyone can react in anger. But it takes real strength to feel the fire and not let it burn everything down. That's why patience is a superpower. And the more you practice it, the more confident you become. Because now you trust yourself in heated moments. You're no longer afraid of losing control, because you know you won't. That inner trust is priceless. Here's how you can practice this in real life. When someone disrespects you, pause. Don't fire back with the first sharp words that come to mind. Let the sting pass. Then decide how you want to respond in a way that protects your dignity. When plans fall apart, pause. Don't throw blame or spiral into negativity. Step back and ask, what can I learn from this? What's my next move? When you feel misunderstood, pause. Don't rush to explain yourself out of fear. Give the moment space. Sometimes the best answer is time. When anger surges, pause. Notice it. Breathe. Remind yourself, I don't need to let this emotion lead me. The more you train this pause, the more natural patience becomes. And over time, you'll notice something. You'll argue less. You'll regret less. You'll carry less tension. Your relationships will feel lighter. Your mind will feel calmer. And your self-respect will grow stronger. Because patience doesn't just protect the moment, it protects your identity. It makes you the kind of person who cannot be controlled by other people's words or mistakes. It makes you the kind of person others respect, not because you always win the argument, but because you never lose yourself in it. That's real strength. So the next time anger rises, remember this: patience is not silence out of fear. It's silence out of power. It's not weakness. It's wisdom. It's not surrender. It's strategy. You don't need to prove yourself in every heated moment. You don't need to fight every battle. You don't need to react to every trigger. Choose patience. Protect your peace. Preserve your self-respect. Because the person who can stay patient when the world tries to provoke them is the person who truly owns themselves. And when you own yourself, no one else can. Your future is shaped by the decisions you make. Every choice, big or small, becomes a building block in the life you're constructing. But here's what most people never consider. The state of mind you're in when you make those decisions matters just as much as the decision itself. You can have all the right information in front of you, but if your mind is clouded, rushed, angry, anxious, or overwhelmed, you're likely to choose wrong. That's why clarity is not a bonus. It's a requirement. And clarity only comes from a calm mind. Think about the worst decisions you've made in your life. Chances are you didn't make them because you were stupid or uninformed. You made them because you were emotional. You acted in anger, in fear, in stress, or in desperation. You let urgency trick you into thinking that speed mattered more than direction. And later, when the emotion passed, you saw the truth: you had chosen poorly. That's why one of the most powerful disciplines you can build is this: never make important decisions until your mind feels calm. Because a calm mind sees what an anxious mind cannot. A calm mind isn't rushing to prove something. A calm mind isn't desperate for relief. A calm mind isn't clouded by ego or panic. A calm mind looks at the facts, separates them from emotion, and chooses wisely. When you're stressed, your body is in survival mode. Your brain isn't thinking long-term, it's just trying to escape the discomfort of the moment. That's why stressed people make short-sighted choices. They quit too soon. They agree to things they don't want. They lash out in ways they regret. They commit when they should wait. But a calm mind is different. A calm mind creates space. A calm mind doesn't panic. A calm mind knows that waiting for clarity is not weakness. It's wisdom. Let me be clear. This doesn't mean avoiding decisions forever. It means respecting timing. It means knowing the difference between acting fast and acting right. Sometimes the smartest move is not a step forward, but a pause. Sometimes the most productive thing you can do is step away, breathe, and give yourself space to think clearly. And that's not avoidance, that's maturity. That's self-awareness. Because here's the truth. If you can't trust yourself to pause until you're calm, you'll always be ruled by your emotions. And a life ruled by emotion is a life full of regrets. Let's make this practical. Am I calm right now? Or am I reacting? Am I deciding from purpose or from panic? Am I thinking long-term, or am I just trying to relieve the short-term pressure? If the answer reveals that your mind is cloudy, wait, step back, give yourself space. That decision can wait until you're clear. Because here's another truth. Very few things in life are as urgent as they feel. Most of the pressure to decide right now is manufactured by your emotions. And when you let urgency rush you, you often end up solving the wrong problem. Calm isn't stalling. Calm is preparation. Calm allows you to see not just the next 5 minutes, but the next 5 years. Calm lets you weigh not just what feels good now, but what builds you later. Calm gives you the ability to say no to things that don't align, even when your fear of missing out screams at you. This is why the best ideas often come when you're calm. When you're walking, when you're showering, when you're sitting quietly, your brain isn't overloaded, so it can actually connect dots, see patterns, and recognize the right direction. But when your mind is frantic, all you see is noise. So if you want to live with fewer regrets, make this your rule. Big decisions require a calm mind. Don't commit to a relationship in the middle of an argument. Don't quit your job on your worst day. Don't invest money while you're afraid of missing out. Don't agree to something just because you feel guilty. Wait, step back, calm down, then choose. Because when you choose from calm, you don't just choose differently, you choose better. And here's something else. Learning to wait for calm before deciding builds self-trust. You start to see yourself as reliable. You know you won't sell yourself out in a moment of panic. You know you won't sabotage your future for temporary relief. That kind of trust changes everything. It makes you confident in uncertainty. It makes you steady in chaos. It makes you the kind of person others can rely on. And it earns you respect, not just from others but from yourself. So the next time you feel the pressure to decide quickly, remember, you're not falling behind by waiting. You're positioning yourself to win by waiting. Quick decisions aren't always smart, but calm decisions always carry clarity. And clarity builds a future you won't regret. So make this your standard. If your mind isn't calm, the decision can wait, because your future deserves wisdom, not panic. Success is not built in front of an audience. It's built in silence. It's built in the small moments, the private choices, the battles no one else knows you're fighting. Everyone wants the highlight reel. Everyone wants the applause, the recognition, the proof. But what actually creates that proof are the quiet battles you fight alone. When no one is watching, when no one is cheering, when no one will ever know if you win or lose. It's easy to show discipline in public. It's easy to post about your progress. It's easy to talk about your goals. But what really defines you is what you do when the lights are off, when the room is empty, when temptation whispers and quitting feels easier than continuing. That's where the real you is revealed. Do you still wake up early when no one will call you out for sleeping in? Do you still keep the promise when no one will know you broke it? Do you still push through when no one is there to clap for you? That's the difference between people who dream and people who achieve. Because the truth is, discipline is not about impressing others. Discipline is about mastering yourself. And the most important battles are internal, not external. The battle against procrastination when you don't feel like starting. The battle against excuses when your mind tries to justify quitting. The battle against distractions when you know you should focus. The battle AG. You have to care less about proving and more about building. You have to love the process more than the applause. Because here's the truth. The quiet battles are the ones that count most. Anyone can put on a show for a day. Anyone can look disciplined when it's convenient. But real transformation comes from what you repeatedly do in silence. Those workouts you do alone. Those late nights of focus. Those early mornings when no one texts you, "Good job." Those hours of practice, study, and sacrifice that no one ever hears about. That's the foundation. That's the real story behind every great success. But here's the challenge. Those battles are lonely. They feel invisible. You'll wonder if they matter. You'll question if it's worth it. Because no one claps for consistency. No one celebrates restraint. No one applauds your decision to stay home and focus instead of wasting time. And if you're chasing validation, you'll quit. But if you're chasing growth, you'll keep going. Because you understand, the silent victories add up. The private battles compound. The choices no one sees eventually create results everyone will see. It's like building a wall. Each brick looks small. Each placement feels repetitive. But keep stacking, and eventually you have a fortress. The kind of fortress that protects your future. So don't underestimate the power of the small wins no one notices. They matter more than the big wins everyone notices. You don't get to the big stage without winning in the quiet room first. And here's something powerful. When you start winning the private battles, you gain a kind of confidence that no one can take from you. Because it's not based on what others think. It's based on what you know. You know you didn't quit. You know you didn't cheat yourself. You know you stayed consistent. You know you fought through the hard days. That kind of self-respect is priceless. And it shows. You walk differently. You carry yourself differently. You make decisions differently. Because you're not trying to prove anything. You already proved it to yourself in silence. This is the kind of discipline that makes you unstoppable. So let me leave you with this. Win the quiet battles. When no one is watching, choose discipline. When no one will know, keep your word. When quitting feels easier, keep going. When distractions call, protect your focus. Those choices will not feel glamorous in the moment. But one day, they will show up in your life as strength, as peace, as results that no one can deny. And when that day comes, people will call you lucky. They'll say you were born with talent. They'll assume it was easy, but you'll know the truth. You'll know it was built in silence. You'll know it was built through small choices repeated daily. You'll know it was built by winning the battles no one else saw. And that's the greatest victory of all. Because success is not loud. Success is silent, consistent, and disciplined. And if you keep winning those quiet battles, nothing, absolutely nothing, can stop you.